Was there ever a point in time in your radio career when you felt like you wanted to give up, like it was just too much?
Yeah, about 10:19 this morning, yes.
All right, guys, we're back at the 6. I'm here with my man Tim McCarthy, Senior Vice President over at ESPN Radio in New York, and with national responsibility as well. And I have a question for Tim that I ask every one of our guests. Was there ever a point in time in your radio career when you felt like you wanted to give up, like it was just too much?
Yeah, about 10:19 this morning, yes. And actually 10:21, 10:23.
Yeah.
It stopped around 11:09. It stopped.
Let me ask a question. That's after you left the house with the 4 kids.
Yeah.
You left Colleen to get them ready for school, and you took the easy road.
That's my relief.
Kidding
me?
Exactly.
That's my relief.
Running to the car in the morning. I understand. No, but seriously, was there ever a point in time when you felt like it was just too much? You didn't have what it would take to succeed in radio?
Yeah, a lot of time. I mean, listen, change is always scary, right? And when you're not doing as well as you think you should be, that's scary. When your budget to hit and you're not hitting them, that's scary. So you always feel that way. Like, why am I doing this? I'm banging my head against the wall and working a lot of hours. I got to be honest. I've been very lucky to work for supportive managers, and listen, I work for the Disney company, ESPN. It's a great company. It's not perfect. I tell everyone who works for us, the food may not always taste great, but it's the best restaurant in town.
Right.
And that happens all the time, and you got to understand that and accept it. But every job is like that. Right. So you're gonna have days where you're challenged, and why am I doing this? I'm better than this, or I'm not as good, right? You can have both of those.
I think that it speaks to, the 2 different types of branding that's out there: internal branding and external branding.
Yep.
Like, you have to work on the internal brand as well, where people understand, like, no companies are perfect. Nobody's perfect at the end of the day, and so you make the best out of what you have.
Yeah. Listen, you have no choice. It's no different than your family life, right? You have challenges with your kids or your wife or in-laws or whatever, and at the end of the day, they're still your family. You got to figure it out.
Right.
And the key is, are you willing to figure it out?
Right.
And so many people are not willing to figure it out, or too lazy to figure it out, or just don't have the wherewithal to figure it out. So I think those that figure it out are successful.
A lot of it, I think, is endurance. People tend to not have the endurance to power through figuring it out. And I think, certainly in my career, and I would suspect in yours as well, the biggest and best breakthroughs that you've ever experienced came as a result of figuring something out that was a challenge for you. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, particularly when you have to, in the ratings game, you try so many different things that just don't work.
Right.
And there's a lot of them. It's like cooking a recipe.
Sure. And that game has changed a lot over the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah, tremendously. Because there's so many different platforms now. Not only that, because of syndication, because of consolidation of a lot of media groups, the wealth of talent is just not there.
Right.
In I'll say the old days, you could go grab someone, you put them on at 10 o'clock at night, you would leave them there, see what they do, you'd grow them, you'd speak to them, you'd talk to them, and you'd hear something, and all of a sudden ratings start happening.
Right.
And then you move them up to 7 o'clock at night, and then you move them the afternoon drive, or middays, and then you move them the afternoon drive. That type of movement with the talent from day part to day part just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Because no one's spending money at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Why spend the money?
I think that speaks to the fact that there are so many different choices that are out there. It's much like when you talk about the expansion in baseball and how it diluted pitching.
Yep.
And it took a while
Absolutely.
for the pitching to catch up with the expansion in baseball. It's no different in media right now. What you're seeing happening, and we're a perfect example of it here on the 6. We are competition for the big media that's out there. And so, it becomes difficult to fill all the different time slots. They want to pay for value, and so you have to squeeze as much value out of each and every time slot as you possibly can. Talk a little bit about when Disney came into the picture for you. That was a bit of a change, correct?
Oh, yeah. It was a big change. So Cap Cities owned ABC. Great company, run by two two great men, Burke and Murphy. They were geniuses,
Right.
in many respects, and it was run by, you have to hit your operating income numbers. It was very to the vest, and they did a great job. And
Because you had to
you had no choice
to survive. You didn't have this pool of cash sitting there.
Oh no, it was, you were judged. You hit it or you don't.
Right.
I mean, if you miss something, in fact, I had this discussion this morning with someone. If you missed a sales forecast, if you put a forecast number in and you missed it, it was bye-bye.
Yeah, a career ending.
It was like, see ya.
That's a lot of pressure.
It was. But listen, you had a lot of support around you. You figured it out, and it seemed to work out. But Disney, Disney's a huge company. It didn't change a lot in the beginning, and quite frankly, Disney, stayed back and let radio do their thing,
Right.
which was great. But at that point in time, it was a great time for radio. It was a tremendous time for radio.
Sure.
I had just moved over from PLJ to WABC. which
Talk
was a
radio
big change
became
for
a
me.
huge piece, correct?
Oh yeah, it was huge. And when I moved over, I remember, like, a lot of people interviewed for the job that I went for, and I didn't think I had any shot at getting it, and I got it. I became local sales manager, and PLJ was the cool place.
Right.
WABC was like, wah, wah.
Right,
Like,
right.
why are you going over there? Like the nerds were over across the hall, and they didn't even talk to each other. It was two different worlds.
It's amazing.
And my general manager, Mitch Dolan, who I think you've met Mitch
Yes,
a few
I have,
times,
yeah.
he kind of opened up the doors. We're one group, and we figured it out. But ABC was nothing. They didn't care about it too much. It wasn't doing well. And then we got a guy named Rush Limbaugh. We had Bob Grant in the afternoon.
Sure. Rambling with John Gamblin.
I brought John Gambling in later.
Yep.
We had Sean Hannity who
Yep.
came on and Sean was a game changer. John Batchelor, Mark Simone.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the stars that went through that radio station. I'll never live a time
It's
like
funny because there's such household names right now in media, but people don't realize that their careers were really birthed on the radio side.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
All of them. During those times, in Rush's heyday, and my office was next to Rush.
Right.
And Rush was a great guy. I mean, he was a really good guy. He doesn't suffer fools. He's not, he doesn't have to go out and meet and be in the public. He could be he was kind of shy, but a great guy. But Caspar Weinberger, George Bush, George Brett, Paul Westphal. I remember all the names coming in just to visit him.
Right.
It was tremendous. And we would get things delivered to the conference room, golf clubs, books, popcorn makers, lobsters. I mean, once a month, Rush would put them in the conference room, and anyone can go in and just take what you want.
Right.
I mean, the place was full.
Yeah, that's brand equity.
Oh, it was crazy. You'll never see anything like that again.
Well, I think it moves. It's almost like it moves to the next big thing, right? And so you see some of the challenges that, and I happen to be a big believer in radio. I see right now something happening on the radio side that is a real positive, where you have people coming back to radio.
Yep.
Because of one thing, and that is great content. And I think that's something that you and I have talked about over the course of the last 10 years. You're always looking for the right talent. You're always looking for great content. And you believe, I think, philosophically, that great content drives ratings. Ultimately.
Always does. Listen, 10 years ago, would you be buying Showtime for a show? Look at the show Billions. I don't know if you're watching that, right?
I do, my friend. Watched it last night.
I did too.
Yeah.
I missed it Sunday. I watched it last night. You can't miss it. Why? Because it's great content.
Yeah.
So wherever it lives, on a main network or Showtime or HBO or wherever,
Right.
it's got to be great, and people find it if it's great. The challenge is it's all not great.
Right.
So you can look, wow, their ratings are down. Well, they're down because it's not good.
Yeah.
Right?
And that speaks to the point we made before about the dilution in terms of the quality of content. And I know that's a big challenge for you each and every day is delivering great content and quality content on a daily basis. When you see what's going on right now with radio, and I'm a big believer because I think that people get too hung up on the digital component of marketing and advertising right now. I think what they miss is that there's still a huge piece of the puzzle that broadcast mediums play.
Yep.
In order to drive them to more organic, digital and website traffic. What are you guys doing on the digital side right now at ESPN to address that?
Well, on in the main company, ESPN Plus is just huge. That's our main driver. We're pushing.
Tell the audience a little bit about what ESPN Plus is.
Well, it's an app. It's $4.99 a month. It's got more content than it's got all sports content you can use. It's got it's got a lot of games. It's got UFC. It's got Sports Center. It's got First Take. It's got radio. It's got everything lives through there. For example, we did a UFC event in Brooklyn. We had 500,000 subscribers subscribed to the app.
It's amazing.
I mean, and it was for this event. So a lot of our events are going to go through Plus. The content continues to get better and better. It just and when we started this, because you can't put all the content. The linear network, ESPN, ESPN2, you got to save some of the gifts for there,
sure,
right?
Of course.
But we have so much content, whether it's 30 for 30s or whatever, we can repurpose so many different things.
Do you see content as the savior, if you will, for the corded media that's out there right now? I mean, I know there's a big migration with respect to cord cutting and whatnot, but content will still always be king. Provocative and quality content.
Totally, particularly live play-by-play.
Right.
Look at this past weekend with the NCAAs.
My favorite time of the year.
The drama, the storylines, everything that goes. Well, you can't repeat that. No one can make that up.
Yep.
And you can't get it anywhere else.
Well, you can't script it either. So the best part about it is it's live, it's unscripted.
Exactly.
It's drama. The drama's in every single
CBS
minute.
pays a lot of money for that content. Yeah. And guess what? They win every time they play it.
Sure.
Because there's always a different story. We have the same story at the College Football Championship or the NBA playoffs or whatever. You can't duplicate that.
Let me ask you a question about that, because CBS has had a stranglehold on that property forever, right? How important do relationships play in decisions at that level, in terms of the NCAA saying, hey, we're going to stick with CBS, they've got a winning formula, we know what we're getting, there's a predictable result or predictable experience for our viewer? How important is that?
Well, I'm a big believer that relationships play an important part everywhere, right? That will never go away. Rights fees are a big part of it.
Sure.
History is a big part of it.
Doesn't the ability to have a predictive result or a predictive experience for the viewer play into that equation, the dollars and cents?
Oh, it does. But I think, listen, at the end of the day, if you're doing a good job over a number of years, and you will, if all things being equal, you come up with the rights, and there's a relationship there, you're always going to win.
Right.
Right? Some outlier comes in and doubles it, where as a business model, you just have to say, we have to take it. That's a whole different story. But I think if you're doing it right,
an outlier.
It is an outlier, but here's the problem. There's outliers now.
Yeah, sure.
So, could Amazon come in and just buy rights to something?
Yeah, the big game changer. Sure.
They could. Here's the thing: we're lucky enough to have a lot of rights tied up. I don't do that side. I do it on the radio side, but certainly on TV, we have a lot of rights tied up, which is a good thing. And here's the other good thing about ESPN. We not only have the rights tied up, we're telling the story every day throughout the week. So other networks are made by rights, they put them on Saturday or Sunday or whatever. We're telling a story all day long, whether it's about LeBron or whomever, that continues the story, and it's part of the fabric of what goes on, because that's what we do.
Right.
So, and the same thing with radio. If we're the home of the Jets and we run a Jet game on Sunday, we're talking about the Jets all week long.
Right.
It's not just block programming that sits somewhere. So there's value to the consumer, there's value to the brand, to the team, whether it's the Jets or the Giants or whomever, and that pays off over time.
I think you touched upon something that we have been keenly focused on. Double D and Hollywood and I have talked about this all the time. Like, the story is what is so attractive to the viewer or the listener these days, and that's why we tell the stories that we tell here. That's why we're telling your story, is because people, it's not just the game. It's the story, listen, between the lines, right? Bob Lane?
Always.
Those are compelling, and they attract eyeballs, they attract ears, they attract attention, they touch people's hearts, and that is something that we've touched upon over here at the Six. It's why we do what we do, and I think that there's a tremendous value that ESPN brings to the table in the 30 for 30 segments, and your ability to tell stories effectively, not just broadcast the games.
Yep.
Right. There's the human element that you guys bring to the equation ultimately. Let's go full circle for just a second here. I want to swing back for a minute and talk about your brother Chris, because one of the things that you do each and every year, and you've been committed and consistent with this, is the Chris McCarthy golf outing. And I know that a lot of talent shows up at this event. I've been there. I could drop names all day long. I'll let you do that because you know those guys far better than I do. But you have something that's near and dear to your heart, something that has a story behind it, the Chris McCarthy golf outing. Talk to us a little bit about how that came to be and why you continue to do it each and every week, each and every year now.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have to do it. My brother passed away. My brother had epilepsy, and he died suddenly. He was 44 years old. So the year after, quite frankly, I started it because I felt like I didn't do enough when he was here. I think I did, but I felt like I didn't. And I said, this guy's, I'm not going to let him go away easily. And I want people to remember the good guy that he was, because he was a great guy. He had challenges. He never complained. I was always smiling. Was a Met fan. I was a Yankee fan. I took him to the Met-Yankee game, and he wore a Met jersey and a hat at Yankee Stadium. I said, please don't do that. Did it anyway. And he had everything stacked against him, but it didn't matter. And he was just a great guy. And so I started a year after he passed, got a bunch of friends together. All the money we raise goes to kids with epilepsy, because one of the things with epilepsy, people don't understand it really. They don't know what it is.
Right.
Someone falls.
They know they don't want to get it or have it. Right?
Exactly.
But
and
they don't know anything
it's kind
about
of like, what's that? And someone falls and has a seizure, and everyone runs away, and they call an ambulance or whatever, and they just don't understand it. So what happens? The kid becomes either homebound or
ostracized,
a pariah at school, made fun of, all those things. So I saw some of that stuff, and I put this together to raise money for the families to do things, to go to a ball game. We take the whole group. We go to the Westchester Theater. We go to stuff in New York City.
You've actually done a lot at the ESSNY Center.
Yes, we created the center and under my brother's name, and we do a Christmas party. We give out gift certificates at Thanksgiving. A lot of these families, unfortunately, dad may have left. I was lucky, but the dad may have left. The mother's home alone. She's got a kid with, not just with epilepsy, may have other brain disorders or something else. So we've done it. It's 16 years. We've raised $600,000 probably.
That's amazing.
But the great thing about it is a great time. We have fun. You've been there,
it's
Sandy.
So grassroots, right?
Yeah,
it's so just everyday people getting together. I know you bring some of the stars in, and they are more than willing to go there on your behalf. It's the most fun that I have.
It's a good. If you have a bad time, that's your problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I play golf once a year, whether I have to or not. It's usually at the Chris McCarthy outing. The swag is off the charts, by the way. My kids are always like, "What did you get at the McCarthy outing?" I bring them home.
I'm wearing a piece of the swag.
Absolutely. But what you do for these kids and these families is amazing to me, and it's done from the heart. It's done because you really do care about the experience these kids have, and you do whatever you can to help them. Let me ask you this: what's Tim McCarthy's proudest achievement at this point in your life?
I'll be honest with you, it's pretty easy. It's my 4 kids.
Yeah.
It's and for me, 15, 20 years ago to say that, it sounds kind of hokey, but it is. I love them to death. It's awesome.
I see them at St. Elizabeth's Church in Wyckoff on Sundays, and we go to Mass, and always an adventure with the McCarthy clan in the pews. There's no doubt.
Not very quiet. Not very quiet.
No doubt, but I see you and Colleen. You do a great job of keeping them all, in line and together. The girls are fairly easy. It's Jack that's, kind of going off in 100 different directions.
Exactly right.
Your little guy. And listen, one of the highlights for me on Sundays at church is when I see 1 or 2 or all 3 of your daughters singing in choir.
Yep.
Or up there reading at the lectern. So I totally identify and get where.
But what's good with that whole thing? The whole community it's amazing. I have a lady that sits behind us all the time, who has sat behind us for like 10 years.
Yeah.
She has seen my kids grow up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's so big, how old, this and that. And it's kind of nice. They know them, and they see them just keep growing and changing, right? And they're in the choir, and and Jack's wrestling with the priest, and all those things. So
And beating him, by the way.
And beating him, by the way. He's not easy to wrestle anymore.
tough kid,
He's
yeah.
easy to wrestle.
And
So.
Father Stephen's a lover, not a hater.
Yeah,
Not a
exactly.
fighter at
Yeah,
all.
I think he lets him win.
Yeah, no question.
It's all good.
But you know what? You said something I think ties right back to how you grew up, and Iona College, which is community.
Yep.
And I know how important that is to you. Let me ask you this. Before we wrap, I want to know, there are kids out there, young ladies, young men right now. I've actually sent you a number of resumes over the years. You've always willingly helped folks out. What would be one piece of relative experience or wisdom that you would give to somebody that wants to break into the radio side of the business, or entertainment, television, whatever it happens to be, whether it's on the business side or the talent side?
Yep.
What would you tell them right now?
I think there's two words that probably matter. Doesn't matter if it's your business or the talent side. And I'd say one is desire, and the other one's work ethic. Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny, the kids today are smarter than I was.
No question.
They know more about the
better
world.
prepared in terms of information.
Yeah, they know more about the world. They're smart about stupid things that we did, right? Mm-hmm. I just think they get it. But I do see the thing that they're kind of missing, and I don't know if we created this. They're looking for that perfect job and position now. Mm-hmm. And it's like buying your first house, right? The house you first buy is not the one you're going to live in for a long time. And you got to experience certain things. I talked about bartending earlier, or driving a limo, or whatever, where you get it. Mm-hmm. And I say this about talk show hosts all the time. I'll say he's not ready yet, and my program director say, why? Like, he doesn't have life experience. You need life experience to be able to make decisions going forward. They're going to matter in terms of whatever you pick, whether it's on air or whatever. And I think there's a level of impatience not to do that. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm not knocking it. It's some kids go fast track really fast. They fast track to whatever they're doing, whether it's Wall Street or whatever. But I think this life experience thing is really important.
Oh, it's so highly underrated in that demographic. I totally agree with you.
I don't know. I don't care if you're a waiter or if you're a caddy at the golf course. The people you're dealing with, you're going to learn a lot from. And your end goal may be to be on air, or maybe to sell insurance, or be in real estate, or whatever. But cultivate that experience. Mm-hmm. Suck it in. Learn from everyone you're around, and then take it to the next level. But when you take the next level, make sure that's where you want to go at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Now, that may change 5 years from now. They may say, you know what, I tried real estate.
You may make a few mistakes along the way.
Sure, you're going to. We all do.
That's the thing that I see and hear the most often, is that young folks are not willing to make the mistake. Like, they've been so programmed and conditioned to, don't make a mistake, don't go down that path, you don't want to go down that path. And I think a lot of times they miss out on the opportunity, as you said, to have a life experience or get their ass kicked. I mean, that's what it is. That's what we're talking about at the end.
It's sometimes unfair. It's something, because think about it. The pressure on kids to go to the right school. Right. I hate to say, at the end of the day, right, there's very few of them that are huge difference makers. Mm-hmm. How you apply yourself in those schools, the work ethic, the contacts you make, you do a summer internship, all this, that's what really matters, right? The other thing is, particularly when I interview salespeople, it's like, well, I have a marketing degree. I want to market a product. And they're 22 years old, they feel bad. Like, didn't your professor ever speak to you about what you're going to be doing? The way to do that, you're in sales. Yeah. Well, I don't want to sell. I want to brand a product.
You're going to have somebody tell me no?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
I want to brand a product. Really? Yeah. Okay. How are you going to do that? Well, I have no idea. And it's almost unfair. I sit there and I'm like, it should be sales.
Well, I tell you, there's no entrepreneur or anybody that's achieved any level of success in business or life that I've ever come across that was created in a test tube or in a beaker somewhere in a lab. It's, you got to get your ass out there, roll up your sleeves, do the hard work, take a kick in the gut, a punch to the face, and get back up again. And I know you've done that over your career. And I full disclosure, I've done a little bit of work with you and your team over there. And the ones that I see succeed in your business and on your team specifically are the ones that know how to take a punch.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and the ones that know how to get back up again and then throw a punch themselves. They know when to throw a punch and when to kind of feint
Yep.
a little bit. And that comes only through experience. And I think what we see today is a lot of kids that cloak aggression with impatience and don't
Yep.
realize
Yep.
that they have to actually go through everything and do the do in order to experience the good stuff. As I say, Ralph Waldo Emerson all the time, do the thing and you'll have the power. If you don't want to or aren't willing to do the thing and get beat up along the way, you ain't gonna have the power.
Yeah, no, there's no two
you
ways
have no
about it.
street cred, as they say.
See, and once you build that, and if you have a good company behind you, I've been really lucky to have a great company behind. You know, everyone asks me why have you been there so long, like, whether Disney or ESPN or ABC. I'm like, I look in the mirror every night, and I've been treated fairly. I've been treated great by this company.
And you've delivered in return too.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
be honest. I mean,
but I think, and I said this in a meeting today, I call it the story of sameness. Okay, do you want to be the same as everyone else, or you want to be relevant on your own?
yeah.
How do you become relevant on your own where people remember what you're about and what you represent?
I know what Double D's thinking. He's saying right now you got to step up to stand out, and that's the message, by the way, coming from Tim McCarthy. Is you got to step up to stand out. You can't blend in. If you want to blend in, then you're going to be
done.
one of a million.
Exactly right.
You know, we want to be
Exactly
one in a million versus one of a million,
Yep.
ultimately.
No two ways about it.
Yeah. Listen, buddy, I so thank you. I know you fought the traffic out of Manhattan to get here.
I loved it. It was great.
I know you did. Call me about. I won't use the words you used to describe the traffic, but I've been looking forward to this for the longest time. I was thrilled when you said yes. I know you thought I had this little podcast thing going on here, but I'm thrilled that you blessed us with the chance to sit down.
got like a
and
TV
hear your
station
story.
going here. It's
amazing.
unbelievable.
But I'm
My
going to give
God.
credit to my man Hollywood Capone because, man, he really does deliver the goods.
He does.
I got my
Beautiful setup.
alter ego over here, Deshaun Drummond, who not only looks good, but he actually thinks good too. And the chance that we have to sit down with people like you that are real people, that have real stories and have achieved real success is the inspiration for the folks that are listening and watching each and every day. And so pay attention. When a person like Tim McCarthy speaks, the lessons are plentiful. And so it's a matter of what you're going to do with your life based on what Tim has shared with you here today. So I hope you come back. I hope you bring a few friends next time you come back. But,
Absolutely.
I thank you, bro. You're a
Anytime,
mensch,
brother.
you know,
Anytime,
which is
man.
Gaelic for a great person.
You got
All
it.
right, so Sandy Cerami, once again, listen, if you're watching on YouTube, right below here, we need you to leave us some comments. We want you to like our video. Need you to share the podcast with everybody that's out there. Give us a little rating, a little review, but subscribe and share is the key to us being able to deliver great content for you day in and day out. And so we'll see you next time on the 6th. For now, thanks a lot. Sandy Cerami coming at you.